Welcome back. So in this session, we're going to, as promised, turn you into an InDesign superstar. This will be a longer session because it will feature 25 techniques. And these are very important techniques because now we want to extend our document. We want to bring in, for instance, page numbers. We want to bring in tabs and tables and all these sort of things. So I'm going to jump around quite a bit in this session as we go through all of the different examples. Okay, we'll take them one at a time and we'll find examples of them. I will also jump to a different document, this document which you don't have, but just to show you in practice how all of these techniques is used. So we'll jump between the two documents to give you a clear understanding. Okay, so tip number one, or technique number one. I'm going to scroll down to page 2. Now you'll remember I mentioned this in chapter 1. When you scroll over the image, any image in InDesign, you'll notice if we go to preview mode, if we go down, you'll notice that we can click on the image and remember that we had the white arrow with which we can see the content of the image and we can move it around. Okay, so do remember the difference. The black arrow selects the object, while the white arrow selects the inside of that crop box, so the whole image inside it. Okay, so technique number one is always be wary of your images and the content of the box. At the same time, I want to reiterate that when we place images, we have to check under the links panel, and I'm pulling the links panel out and we select that image. It shows us in the links panel that the image is in RGB mode, which means, of course, if we're going to use it for print, we have to convert it to CMYK in Photoshop. But the other thing that's important is to check whether the PPI or the resolution is high enough. It says to us the actual PPI or DPI is 72 dots per inch. But because we shrunk it into that box, it's now 490. So we know it's high res. And I keep reiterating this because it is absolutely crucial that you make sure your images is high res enough to print. Okay, number 2, we're going to look at master pages. Now, this document has no page numbers at the moment. Now, when it comes to creating page numbers, you need to create the page numbers on a master page. Remember when we pulled in our pages, in chapter 1 I told you that these pages all have the letter A on them. Okay, those two don't. But what that basically means is that whatever's on this master page will appear on all the pages that's marked as A pages or A master pages. So if we want what's on the A master to be on these where it says B, all we do is we drag that master page and slot it right on the page. Can you see how they turn to A? We didn't add a page to the document. We simply applied whatever was on the A master. And we haven't put anything on them yet. So think of the master pages as kind of ghost pages. All right. So if we double click on them, we're now on that ghost page. And you'll notice I've already put the page number function on here. I'm going to delete it for a moment so that you can see how to do this. Now let me jump just back to the document for a moment. Remember when I explained to you all about arrangement of boxes? We placed everything on one layer, but in this document we now have more layers and it's under the layer panel. We haven't looked at the layer panel yet. So if we select the boxes on the normal page, can you see the blue border around them? And in the layer panel it shows me blue. And the layers is telling us there's 3 layers of content. Everything at the moment, because it's got blue bounding boxes, is on layer 1. If I clicked on layer 2 and I now create an additional box, look at the edge there, it's red, telling me that it's on layer 2. If I select layer 3 and I create another object, there we go, bounding box green. That's how you tell what's on which layer. Your content of your document, keep it on one layer and use your arrangement. The reason we use layers with master pages is as follows. If we placed the page number on the master page on layer 1 and we have a blue background or we have an image background like in this case, then the number of the page will go behind the image, which isn't ideal at all. That's why we put master page elements on a layer above everything else. So I'm going to jump back to the master page. We double click on it and we're on that master page. Whatever we add here now will be added to left and right, left and right. Okay. Now we're going to make sure that we work on layer 3. So we just select layer 3 and we're going to create a little text box where we can place the page number down here. Okay, now we want the page number to be center aligned. So there we go. And we're going to use a special function which would ask the page, what is your number, and then number it accordingly. And it's under type, insert special character, markers, current page number. So type menu, insert special character, markers, current page number, and look what it does. It gives me a little A, which is essentially a function that it will run. And we can change the look for it. We can say, well, we want the page number to be impact font. We want it to be a little bit bigger, maybe a different color, whatever we want to do here. And there our left-hand pages will now have the page number. Now I'm just going to copy that box, Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V, or you could use Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And I'm dragging it to the other side so that my right-hand pages will also have page numbers. Cool. Now, if we go back to our pages and we click onto any of the pages that's linked to the A master, now we'll have a page number. So there's page 1, you can see it appears in front of the image. There's page 2 and page 3, page 4 and 5, and I don't see the numbers here. Let's just check, where are they? Let's pull in the master page again. It looks like this page actually has a custom size, so it went and put it over here. That's fine, we can just drag it into place. Alright, now we can't really see the numbers there because it's on top of the image, but you'll see the rest of the document. There we have the page numbers again. Okay, so they're all linked to a master. Now, what is very important here is to understand how it relates to your document. Look at this document. This page isn't page 1. If I look at this example, this is the cover for publication. Then we have the inside front cover, which is an ad. Then we have the contents page. The content page is the one that's supposed to be page 1. In any publication, it would work with that. Or maybe you have an index, so you have a number of pages before you get to page 1. So in InDesign, we can create a section start. On our pages, we'll see that we have page 1, page 2, page 3, and so on. Now a section start would mean that we've got page 1 and page 2, and then on page 3, we tell it to number from page 1 again. Okay, does that make sense? So we're clicking on page 3 on our pages panel, and we go to layout, numbering, and section options, and we tell it to start numbering from this page again as page 1. can also do your Roman numerals, you can do A, B, C, and so on. And we click OK. Now look what happens. Page 1, page 2, page 1, page 2, page 3. Okay, so now this will translate to page 1 again. So if we had the ad on the left hand side and our first content page was page 1 over here, like we have it in this example, then that will count as page 1. So section starts, very, very helpful. But now we have a problem. Our cover has number 1 on it. And we can't seem to select it because we want to delete it on this page. So anything that's brought in from a master page is not selectable. It's stuck. So if you do want to unlink it from the master page because we don't want the element here, then we hold Control Shift on a PC or Command Shift on a Mac and we click on that element, and you'll see it will loosen it from the master page, and we can now just delete it. Okay, so wherever we don't want page numbers, if we look through our document and maybe later on we decide we don't want it to show on this page, maybe we have an infographic there, then Control Shift click and we can control it and delete it. Okay, so that is your section starts and your master pages. For our next technique, I would like to remind you about exporting for press quality. Okay, it's a simple tip for you, but as mentioned in chapter 1, when you export for print, always use File, PDF presets, and use press quality. Okay, 99% of the time that would be the correct version for your PDF. High quality print doesn't always give you the same conversion of your fonts and so on. So press quality is really good. Ask your printer, however, which of these do they want. And to remind you, when we do export to press quality, we will save our document and tell it to save it as a PDF, which will bring up this screen. Remember, we must give separate pages if it's going to print, and we can make it spreads if we want to show the client what the layout looks like. The other thing that's crucial to remember is the marks and bleed. Always include your bleed if it is a print document. Okay, your next tip or technique is the eyedropper again. Remember when we added color? So with any image in the document, we can take the eyedropper, color theme tool, click on the image, and it picks up the most or the main primary colors from that image, and we can now add it to our swatches panel by clicking on that little button, and there we go. Now we have all of those colors available for this document. But there's another eyedropper. The second one on the flyout can do quick tricks as follows. I can click on a font. Let's say this to Paradise, this font. We want to replicate that font and the size and everything on West Coast over here. So I take the eyedropper and I click on the text, and the cursor will swap around. And now I go to the element I want to format the same as that, and I just drag over it and drop it, and there you go. The same styling is applied that we had there in the same size. So the eyedropper can save you a lot of time to do the formatting and the look of the document. Of course, what else could we have done? We could have done a character style of that, but sometimes you just want to do a quick edit, so that is a really useful feature. Your next technique is for multiple image placement. Remember when we did the 9 images in chapter 1? Let me just redo it for you. Remember, before you start building your grid, don't go and create the frames. Simply go to File, Place, and go and select the 9 images that you want to use. So there we're selecting them. Click open, and it gives us a loaded cursor stating that there's 9 images currently selected. Now watch carefully. I'm clicking, I'm holding in the mouse. Okay, I'm still holding in the mouse. I use the up arrow key on my keyboard twice. See how it starts to create the grid? I use the right arrow key twice, and there's my grid for 9 images. I drop it, and I right click, fitting fit frame proportionately, and voila, done. Of course, you can now go back into the images. If you're not happy with the parts of the images that's showing, you can always change it with your white arrow. Alright, so that's a real time saver to get images very quickly into a very neat grid. Your next tip is an easy one. It is similar to what Word can do, and it's the find and replace function. And you will find that under your edit menu, and it says find and change. So that's, for instance, if you want to change a word throughout the document that might have been misspelled, or maybe the name of the publication was mentioned wrong. So we can say find the word, let's just take something like hello if it is in here, and change it to whatever, goodbye. And we can tell it find next, and it finds it in the document. Now in this document there's nothing like that. So let's do Cape Town, find next, and it jumps to wherever it finds Cape Town. Now it does something interesting here. It says it will search in the document or in all documents. If I stated all documents, all the documents that's currently open will be searched for that and changed. And we can also use the change all function. Okay, so that's a simple find and replace technique. Your next technique is something I would like to mention now, but we're going to spend a lot of time on that in chapter 3. And that is to create digital PDFs. So this document that was created for print can be passed off as a digital document, and all kinds of other possibilities then exists. For instance, we can put underneath an article, let's put a white block here, and we can write there, visit our website. Select it with the black arrow and group them together. Remember my group function, object group. Now we want to convert this into a button, and when clicked it will of course jump to a website. So I'll introduce you to the full interactive menu in chapter 3, but for now we're just going to look at buttons and forms, and it opens this little panel where we can tell the currently selected object that it is a button, and we can assign an action. What is supposed to happen when it's clicked? We click the plus, and we tell it once clicked we want it to go to a URL. Click it, and we specify the URL. Let's point it at www.adobe.com. Okay, you can do some interesting things here as well, like for instance you can change the rollover color. So when the mouse moves over, then the text would turn to white and the box would turn, sorry, the text would turn to white and the box would turn to blue. Look at that. So you have a very cool little rollover effect. You can also do animations, and you saw me do the animations at the end of chapter 1. So the publish online video, if you want to jump back to that, those animations will also work on the publish online version. But what we're doing here is simply creating a digital PDF. And there's a difference between a digital PDF and the actual published online digital version. But we'll do a whole chapter on that. Now, something else that I want you to make you aware of now is that we can place video clips on digital PDFs. And we do it the same way that we do an image frame. We simply select and create an image frame. Then we go File, Place, and we go grab a video clip. And I'm going to grab one from chapter 3 over here. It's under creating a digital PDF, and it's called Cape Town Video, and open. And there it places the video in that box. Now I'm going to fit it just like I fit an image into a box. And now we have a video that can play on that page. The video is controlled from Window, Interactive, Media. And we can see a preview of the video.
The City Bowl from Lion's Head.
Okay, so we can see that. And then what we can also do from here is to tell it to have a poster, which means before the video starts playing, it's supposed to show an image where people can click play on the video. And that's called the poster. So we can make that poster from the current frame. And now it shows that there's a video clip over on this part of the page. Pretty cool. So it's just a brief introduction for Rich Media. And yeah, we're going to take this a whole lot further in chapter 3. For now, I'm just going to delete that again, both of those, and let's move over to zoom into the text over here. Now, every font set that you use has a number of glyphs. Some of them have hundreds of glyphs. And if we talk about a glyph, it's a character. So in this case, the P is a glyph of this font set times New Roman. Now, what if we had French words, or we had a different language where we have a different way of writing? Where do we get those glyphs? So I can go to the type menu, and it's under glyphs, and it brings up this box that shows me all the possible glyphs for the current font. Look at that. Times New Roman has hundreds. There's Arabic, there is Greek, there's the mathematical sign, there's copyright, registration mark, it goes on and on. There's arrows, there's all kinds of things. So the way you would use them is if it's in a word and we had to have a different I with a little stripe above it, we would find that character in the glyph set, and with it selected, we click the new character. So let's just look for it here. It's a lowercase I. The only one I see is this one. Let's say it's this one. And you will see, okay, that's not a lowercase, but you get the idea. It's replacing it with that glyph. If we were somewhere else in a sentence and we want maybe a copyright sign, then we find copyright, double click it, and it brings that glyph onto the page. So whenever you're looking for characters that's not on your keyboard, or that you're unsure of the codes for them, then just grab it from your glyph set. Okay, very, very useful. Your next technique is saving pages out as a JPEG. What if you did this whole publication and you want to advertise it on Facebook, or you made a whole design and you just want to export it as a JPEG to be able to post it? Or maybe you want to export it as a PNG. So you don't want to make a PDF, you want an actual image. In that case, we can export all the pages of the document as single JPEGs, or we can tell it which page we want converted to JPEG. And we do this from the File menu by going to Export. And we can tell it, okay, we want it over in our folder, and we want a JPEG. There you'll see you've got PNG if that's a format you know better. We're going to do a JPEG. And it's going to ask us, what do you want to save it as? Let's just call this booklet cover. Okay, don't worry, we're going to tell it what to export in a moment. and then we can click on save. And it's going to take us to the export JPEG screen, asking us, do we want to export all the pages? In which case it will create what, about 13 JPEGs for each page, or for all the pages. But in our case, we just want to do page 1. So I'm going to state there page 1. Actually, we made a mistake here. Remember, we put a section start over there. Let's just take it out for a moment, because otherwise page 1 will be confusing, because there's 2 page 1s. So this section start I will take out. Now it's normal 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Okay, so back to that export, and we call this cover, and now we can state only export page 1, or we could have said page 1 to 3, whatever you would like to export. Let's do page 1 to 3 so that you can see it. Then it's asking us what's the quality of the image, what quality should it be, and it also gives us the opportunity to change the resolution. So if we want to use this for social media, 150 would be more than adequate. But remember, social media would compress it itself. So it's better to go for a 300 ppi, or pixels per inch. And of course, our digital format is always RGB and not CMYK. Now we can export those pages. And let's look at our folder. And there they are. All 3 pages are separate images that can now be used somewhere else. Okay, brilliant feature. But I want to show you something else that you can do with exporting JPEGs. We could have said, let's say as we're working on this design, we decide, you know what, the way I've done this header here looks pretty cool. So I'm going to select all of that without the blue background. So I shift click that just so that these elements are selected. Now, instead of exporting the whole page, we're only going to export those selected bits. We go back to File, Export, and we tell it this is maybe page header, save. And on the next screen, we tell it to only export the selected objects, and export. And now if we look in our folder, let me just grab our folder, there's the page header, and it's only those elements that we had selected. How cool is that? Okay, so you can create multiple JPEGs from different elements on different pages. Your next technique is the dictionary. Yes, InDesign has a dictionary that can do a spell check. So if I'm in a current story, and with that I mean I'm actually inside with my text tool inside a box, and no matter how long this story flows on for, I can go to edit, and I can go to spelling, and then check spelling, and it will run through that search, and will start returning the spelling mistakes and give you the suggested corrections. Okay, so it works pretty similar to Microsoft Word, but you can also edit that dictionary. So if we go back to the edit menu, spelling, and use a dictionary, then let's say for instance the title of the publication should not be seen as a spelling mistake. Then we can add words. Let's say this one is Cape Flora, which would be something we would refer to in the publication, and we can add it. So we're adding it to our user dictionary so that it doesn't pick it up as a spelling mistake. Okay. Your next technique is for colors. I'm going to pull out the swatches panel here for a moment. Now, at the moment, we are using all these colors in the current document, but we can manage all of our swatches as well. As you can see, there's lots of swatches here, and it becomes a little bit confusing. Which ones did I use? Which ones didn't I use in this publication? So on this little menu that can't be found at the top, we have an option that says select all unused, and there it shows you which ones has not been used in the publication, and we can delete them if we want to. The other thing that you can do with colors is, let's say you've spent a whole bunch of time selecting new colors in another document, and now you get to your new document and there's only the 6 primary colors again. You can go and load all the colors from the other document and bring it into this document, and you do that by going back to the menu and you click on load swatches, and you go and select an InDesign file where you want to bring the colors in from, and when you click open, look at that, all those colors are now available in this document. Okay, so it's a great tip for you. I'm just going to pull swatches back over here. Your next technique is bullets, which is quite an easy one. I'm going to jump to a page where we've got some space and just show you over on page 10 of the document. We have this final exercise example, and you'll notice that InDesign can place bullets according to hard returns in the text. And with that I mean, I'm just going to take my guides away for a moment, and I'll create a new text box. So if we already brought the text in from Word, that's fine, but let's say it's option 1, enter, option 2, enter, option 3. Now we want to make them bullets. So we just select them, all 3 of them. We go to our paragraph formatting, and there's my bullets, and it creates the bullets. We can control how far it sits from the left hand side. You'll see it's 6 by 5 millimeters by default. We can also make it a numbered list by clicking on the number list option, and in that way we can create our bullets and our lists. Okay, let's jump back. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around a lot, but it's to show you everything. So what if you want to edit the story? Let's say you're working on a document and the editor says to you, I want to correct some of the spelling, but this document's already laid out. So if you leave them to go in here and make changes, and they don't know InDesign, they're going to mess up your document. So there's a cool mode with which whatever boxes is threaded together, like this one moving to over here and then moving down here, we can take that box by clicking anywhere inside the box and go to edit and click on edit in story editor, and it brings up this little panel, and here all we see is the copy. Okay, it's also got a word count, it's also got the style sheets there, but now the editor or you can make the text changes. And by making the changes, it will change in the document, but it won't mess up your layout. Now remember when we talked about overset text as well, there's more text in this box. If we were to close this and you look at this box, all the copy for this article didn't fit in the box. So if we go back into Story Editor, we can see the overset text with this red line. And we can ask the editor to cut whatever copy so that all our copy can fit into the story. So a great way, just to see only the copy for that specific article. For your next technique, we would like to add a QR code. Maybe it's a print publication, and when they scan a QR code, it will open a video clip or a website. So we do that by going to the object menu and clicking on generate QR code. It's going to ask us what kind of a QR code, what message should pop up when that code is scanned. We want a web hyperlink, and let's insert there again adobe.com. You can point it to a YouTube link, you can point it to any website, and if you click OK, you can now drag a box. Sorry, I had that box selected. Let's go again. Object, generate QR code, click OK, and now it creates the QR code. We can resize it or place it in that box. Sorry, I had that box selected again. Let's retry. So nothing should be selected. Then we go generate QR code, and it gives me the loaded cursor. So now I can place it anywhere I want to on the page. And there's my QR code. Very, very, very cool. Beforehand, you would have needed software to be able to do that, but InDesign actually has it built in. Now, for the next technique, this is one that I get people asking me about all the time. So I'm going to move all the way to the bottom of the document and add some more pages. So we'll add page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, and 16 and 17. Right, now watch carefully. The idea is to create an automated table of content. What does that mean? It's going to read the page numbers by applying paragraph styles to those headers on those pages. And then we're going to ask InDesign to create the table of contents for us. So we first need all the headings for the different pages. Let's imagine that the table of contents will sit over here. So we'll create a box over here, and we'll call this, let's say, chapter 1. We'll copy that same box to the other pages, just paste them. These of course will have its own unique headings, and chapter 3 just for an example, and we'll copy those two, paste them over the next page, and this will be chapter 4 and 5. Alright, now in order to be able to make that table of contents, all of these headings should have a paragraph style. Remember our paragraph styles? We went to Window, Styles, Paragraph Styles. Let's pull out this panel. We can now change the look of them. Let's say we want it again in the impact font, and we want them a little bit bigger, and we want them to be red. There you go. So by selecting it, we can now convert that look and make it into a paragraph style. So we click new paragraph style, and we'll call this headings. You can call it whatever you want to, and you'll see there it picked up all of the settings. Remember to click the apply style to selection, otherwise that element is not linked to our new paragraph style. Now we click OK. Now we go to the other headings and we just apply the same paragraph style. So InDesign is going to read everywhere where that paragraph style is used, and then it will create the table of contents for us. All right, it's ready. So next we'll go to layout and then click on table of content. Okay, it will bring up this panel where it's going to ask us which of the paragraph styles is supposed to become the items on the table of contents. We know that we just created headings, So we add that. We can say the entry style is no paragraph style. Entry style meaning that's how the text would look. We don't want it to look the same as that text is currently. And then all we do is we click OK. But before we do, there's something else that's interesting here. It says create PDF bookmarks. What it's going to do is create the table of contents, but if we were to export it as a digital document or digital PDF, those entries will automatically be linked to the pages. So when you click on them, they will jump to the pages. So let's click OK. Okay, now we drag the box for the table of contents where we want that. And there's our table of contents. Okay, now, very cool. See how it picks up the page numbers for each one of those headings. We can reformat all of this, no problem. And it puts a tab character in between the heading and the page number. Let's zoom in here. Now we want, just like in a normal publication or a book, we want those little dots where the tab is now, and we want it to sit all the way on the right. So we select all 3 of them, or all 5 of them, and we're going to go to type and click on tabs. With the tab function, with this little ruler, we are resetting the amount of space between literally the key, the tab key on your keyboard. And we can do it with a left tab, a center tab, a right tab, or a decimal if it's numbers. So we're going to use the left tab, and you'll notice this little ruler right above it is this gray area. And in that gray area, we need to click wherever we want the numbers to move to. So we're going to click it over here, and look how perfectly it jumps to the right. And there's another little trick. This letter, as they call it, is the character that it should fill that space with between the tabs. So we put a full stop character there. Press enter. And voila! You have your table of contents. How brilliant is that? Now, just a note. When you change these pages around and chapter 1 now goes on a different page, this table of contents won't automatically update. You have to redo it. So just bear that in mind if you are going to use this to create tables of content. And that brings us to the end of this lesson. So there's really a lot in this lesson, and these are techniques that you will have to master, especially if you're going to do books and if you're going to get into advanced typesetting and so on. Then do work through them again and again until you get a clear understanding of them. I will see you in the next session where we will take on tables.